You walked into your home, kicked off your shoes, tossed your backpack or purse in a corner, and for a second you just stood there, silent, feeling like the whole world ran over you today. Maybe it was traffic, pressure at work, messages that just wouldn't stop, tough decisions, misunderstandings, people demanding too much, or just that kind of exhaustion no one sees, but it weighs on you like lead. If you had a rough day, if your mind feels full, loud, anxious, like there's not even space to breathe, then this video is for you. You won't find empty promises here, no cheesy self-help quotes either, but you will find 12 Stoic meditations, simple, powerful, and transformative, little anchors of wisdom to bring you back to your center, to remind you of your strength, your reason, and your peace. While the world outside screams, Stoicism whispers, you don't control what happens, but you control how you respond. So pause for a moment, slow down, put on your headphones, turn off the lights if you want, and give yourself a moment just for you, a moment to reflect, to reset. Throughout this video, you'll be guided through 12 meditations that might completely change how you end this day, and even how you begin the next. Don't skip any. Each one holds a different key. One opens the door to serenity, another to courage, another to acceptance, and the last one, the 12th, might just be the most powerful of them all, because in it, you'll understand something most people spend a lifetime ignoring. Before we begin, if you're new to my channel, take a second to hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you can keep getting content like this to help you live a more meaningful life. Now take a deep breath, and let's begin this journey from the inside out. The first meditation starts now. Remember, you've survived every one of your worst days. You made it here. You're listening to this right now, and maybe you don't even realize how much that simple fact already says about you. Maybe it was a tough day. Maybe it's been a heavy week. Maybe the exhaustion you're feeling isn't just physical. Maybe it's mental, emotional. Maybe there was an argument, a loss, an unexpected failure, or just that stubborn feeling of loneliness that won't go away. Or maybe it was just that quiet pile-up of little things that slowly build until it overflows. But breathe, just breathe, because there's one truth you might need to hear gently. Today, you've survived every single bad day you've ever had up to this point. Everyone, no exceptions. Even when you thought you couldn't handle it, even when you wanted to give up, you stayed. You may have cried, screamed inside, shut the world out for a few days. You may have messed up, fallen down, lost your rhythm, but still, you got back up, maybe stumbling, maybe in silence, but you kept going. And that is one of the greatest signs of strength any human being can show. The ability to keep going, to continue even when you don't feel ready, to move forward even when it still hurts. Seneca, the great Stoic philosopher, once wrote, "A man who has faced adversity has already conquered half his fear, because fear grows strongest where we forget our own strength. But when we remember what we've already endured, fear shrinks, insecurity loses ground, and the mind finds shelter in our own story." So stop for a minute now and look back. Think of one of the hardest phases of your life. Maybe it was a heartbreak, a financial crisis, a job loss, a death, an illness, an injustice, or a mistake you deeply regret. Go back there for a second, not to suffer again, but to observe. You are not the same person who went through all of that. Today, maybe you can even see that what felt like the end back then was really just the beginning of a new version of you. Grab a piece of paper or open the Notes app on your phone. Write this down. These were the days I thought I wouldn't make it. Then list 3 of them, and under each one, write what you learned from it, or how it changed you. Maybe it taught you patience. Maybe it taught you to speak up. Maybe it showed you who was real. Or maybe it made you realize you didn't need to please everyone. Those scars tell a story, and it's not a story of weakness. It's a story of resilience. So next time you catch yourself thinking, "I can't handle this," flip that thought. Tell yourself, "I've already faced what felt impossible, and I'm still here." That's not arrogance, that's memory of your strength. Swap the question, "Why is this happening to me?" for "What is this trying to teach me?" That little shift changes everything. Because when you place yourself as a student of life, not a victim, pain gains purpose, and purpose brings lightness. Tonight, before you sleep, close your eyes and travel back in time. Picture a moment from your past that really marked you. Go back to it. See the people, feel the space, sense the emotions, and then look at who you are now. Look at how much you've grown, how much you've matured, how much you've survived, and if you feel up to it, share that with someone. Sometimes, someone else needs to hear, "You're going to get through this, just like I did." And you need to remember your own story too, because by telling your journey, you reinforce your strength. You remind yourself that it wasn't luck, it was courage. Never forget, you've survived every single one of your worst days. Everyone. And you're going to survive this one too, because the strength that brought you this far is still alive inside you, and it's going to take you even further. Second meditation. Suffering comes more from reaction than from the fact. How many times has something small ruined your entire day? A snarky message, an unfair criticism, a delay that spiraled out of control, an indifferent gesture from someone you expected more from. These events, by themselves, are fleeting, but what makes them echo for hours or even days is how you react to them. And that's where Stoic wisdom comes in. Epictetus taught us, it's not the events themselves that disturb us, but the judgments we make about them. In other words, suffering doesn't come from what happens, but from what you think about what happened. The same event can spark completely different reactions in different people. One person misses the bus and says, "My day is ruined." Another misses the bus and thinks, "Maybe that saved me from something worse." The event was the same. What changes is the perspective, and the perspective is a choice. Now imagine, how much weight are you carrying right now that didn't come from the event itself, but from how you interpreted that event? Maybe that criticism that hurt you so much has more to do with the insecurity of the person who criticized you than with you. Maybe that silence that bothered you came from someone who's also tired or overwhelmed and didn't know how to show affection. Maybe that rejection says nothing about your worth, but everything about the other person's inability to connect. You don't need to accept everything passively, but you can start to ask, is the problem really in what happened or in what I'm doing with it in my mind? From now on, when something bothers you, hurts you, or makes you upset, try pausing, stop, breathe, and ask yourself, am I suffering from the fact or from the story I'm telling about it? This pause, this simple question, is a game changer because it gives you back the power of choice. You can choose not to feed the thought that makes everything worse. You can choose to reinterpret the situation. You can choose not to react impulsively, and that's liberating. If you want to practice this shift in perspective, here's a simple exercise. Choose a recent situation that upset or saddened you. Now, rewrite that scene mentally from 3 different angles: your own, the other person involved, and a neutral observer's. Do this calmly, as if it were a movie script. You'll be surprised at how much the truth changes when the point of view changes. Another powerful exercise is the dialogue with the mind. When you catch yourself ruminating over something, talk to yourself like a Stoic would. Is this what I'm thinking a fact or an interpretation? Does this deserve all this energy? Is my peace worth less than this anger? It's not about ignoring the pain or pretending you don't feel it. It's about not letting it dominate you, not handing over the key to your serenity to something that, deep down, only has the power you've given it. Suffering starts in the external world, but it extends within you. It's like a spark that, if not fed, goes out. But if it's fed with impulsive thoughts, distorted judgments and assumptions, it turns into a wildfire. So, the next time anger strikes, the next time bitterness arises, the next time your thoughts push you to the edge, remember, you're not obligated to react the same way as always. You can choose silence. You can choose calm. You can choose not to hurt yourself twice, by the situation and by the reaction. Pain might be unavoidable, but prolonged suffering, that's almost always optional. And today, you can choose lightness. Third meditation, the now is all you really have. How many times have you found yourself reliving the past, ruminating over old conversations, regrets, things you didn't say, or things you wish you had done differently? And how many times have you lost yourself in thoughts about the future, worries about what might happen, fear of what may never happen, anxiety over not having control over what hasn't even arrived yet? Meanwhile, the now, the real moment, the only one that truly exists, simply slips away. Seneca, in his wisdom, wrote, "Life is divided into 3 times, the past, the present, and the future. Of these, the present is the briefest, and yet it is all we truly have. The present is the only time in which we can act, breathe, change, feel, live." Stoicism invites us to anchor our awareness in the now, not as an escape from what's to come, but as a return to reality, because the past can't be changed, and the future is not guaranteed. Only the present is in your hands. So pause for a moment. Where is your mind right now? Is it here, in this moment? Or is it stuck in something that's already gone? Or lost in something that hasn't even come yet? To live more fully in the present, you need to train your attention. Here are a few simple Stoic practices that can help. First, breathe. Not like someone breathing out of obligation, but like someone who feels the air coming in and out as a reminder that you are alive. Close your eyes, right now, if you can. Feel the weight of your body where you're sitting. Notice the sounds around you. Feel the touch of your clothes on your skin. The breath. This is being present. Second, turn ordinary tasks into anchors of attention. When washing the dishes, feel the temperature of the water. When walking, notice the contact of your feet with the ground. When eating, savor the food with full attention, as if it were your first meal. You don't need a spiritual retreat to live in the now. You only need intention. Third, create rituals of presence. It could be writing a Stoic quote every morning. It could be stopping during the day and asking yourself, what am I feeling right now? What really matters in this moment? Presence is a practice, not a magical state that appears out of nowhere. It's like a muscle. The more you exercise it, the more natural it becomes. And remember, every time you get lost in the past, you relive pains that should have already passed. Every time you anticipate the future, you suffer for things that may never happen. And with that, you lose the only space where you can truly live, the now. If you're hearing this, it's because you're alive. And if you're alive, you have a chance to do it differently, to breathe more calmly, to choose with more awareness, to act with more clarity. Stoicism doesn't ask you to erase the past, nor to ignore the future, but it invites you to understand that your point of power lies in the present moment. So the next time fear comes, come back to the now. The next time your mind starts racing, come back to the now. The next time life feels chaotic, come back to the now. Because the now is all you really have, and it's more than enough. Fourth meditation, you are stronger than you think. Have you ever noticed how, in the toughest moments, we always think we're going to break? Pain comes, life gets heavy, and the mind collapses. And the first thing we think is, I can't handle this. But the curious thing is, you can handle it. Maybe not in the way you hoped. Maybe with tears in your eyes, sleepless nights, and a heavy heart. But you can handle it. It passes, and you move on. Marcus Aurelius, Roman emperor and one of the greatest representatives of Stoicism, wrote, "You have power over your mind, not over external events. Realize this, and you will find strength." The strength he speaks of isn't physical. It's an inner strength, quiet, the kind that lifts you when the world falls apart. That makes you keep going, even when everything seems lost. That gives you steadiness within, even when everything outside is uncertain. But the problem is that often you forget this. You forget that you've been strong before. You forget that you've overcome storms. You forget that what built you weren't the easy days. It was the tough ones. So today, you need to remember. And for that, here are 3 practices that can reconnect you with the strength that lives inside you. The first is simple. Mentally relive a moment when you were strong. It could be a personal triumph, a tough phase, or a difficult decision you made. Close your eyes and see yourself in that situation. See how much it hurt, and also see how much you resisted. Tell yourself, if I was strong back then, I can be strong now. The second practice is to write. Grab a piece of paper and write. 5 times I surprised myself with my own strength. You don't need to show it to anyone. It's a reminder, just for you. You'll realize you're more resilient than your memory tends to tell you. The third is to repeat a Stoic affirmation every time you feel like you can't handle something. Something like, "This is tough, but I've been strong before, and I still am." Say it with conviction, even if you're doubting inside. The constant repetition will change the way you see yourself. Stoicism doesn't say you won't suffer, but it shows that even in pain you can remain whole. Being strong doesn't mean being invulnerable, it means moving forward, even when you're vulnerable. And here's a practical reflection for your day. Think of an area in your life that feels out of control right now. Maybe it's emotional, professional, family-related, or financial. Now ask yourself, what would a strong version of me do in this situation? You don't need all the answers, but act as if you were already strong, and your mind will start believing it. The strength you're looking for isn't out there. It's not in advice or magical solutions. It's right here, inside you, hidden beneath layers of fear, exhaustion, and doubt. But it's there, and you can access it now, in the present moment. No matter the size of the pain or the weight of the day, remember, you are stronger than you think, and stronger than you feel. The proof? You're still here. You're still moving forward, even with everything, and that is already enough strength. Fifth meditation, accept what you cannot control. There are things you simply cannot change. You can plan with all your care, and still, something will go off script. You can do everything right, and still receive criticism. You can love with all your heart, and still not be loved back. The truth is, part of life will always slip through your fingers, and the more you try to control the uncontrollable, the more you suffer. Epictetus went straight to the point when he said, "Some things are up to us, others are not." This is one of the greatest truths of Stoicism, and one of the hardest to accept. The mind often believes that worrying, insisting, controlling, or resisting will change reality. But in practice, all of that just increases your distress. So pause now and reflect. How many things today are weighing on you simply because you're trying to control what isn't up to you? It could be someone's opinion, a company's decision, a relative's behavior, a response that hasn't come yet, the past that can't be undone, or the future that hasn't arrived yet. You have every right to feel, but you need to understand that fighting against what isn't in your control is like trying to paddle upstream in an endless current. It's exhausting, it's unproductive, it's painful. Acceptance is not about giving up. Acceptance is saying, this is beyond my reach, so I will focus on what I can do. And that's where freedom begins. Here are some Stoic practices to cultivate this acceptance with awareness. The first is using the technique of the 2 circles. Grab a piece of paper, draw 2 circles, one inside the other. In the inner circle, write everything that is within your control. Your actions, your words, your choices, your attitude. In the outer circle, write everything that is outside your control. Other people's opinions, the weather, unforeseen events, other people's behavior. Look at this paper and remember, it's in the inner circle that you need to invest your energy. The second practice is to repeat a Stoic phrase whenever you feel uneasy about something beyond your control. This is not in my hands, and that's okay. Repeat it as many times as necessary until your mind understands that peace isn't found in controlling everything, but in accepting with wisdom. The third is to observe your own body. Whenever you try to control something outside your domain, notice how your body reacts. Tight shoulders, shallow breath, clenched jaw. Use your body as an alarm signal. And every time you notice these signs, take a deep breath, relax your body, and say, let go. You don't need to carry the world. Acceptance is an act of emotional intelligence. It's understanding that if something is beyond your power, then insisting on it is needless suffering. It's like trying to hold the wind with your hands. You have power over many things. You can choose how you will react. You can change your tone of voice. You can practice self-care. You can say yes or no. You can learn, improve, and stand your ground. But you cannot control other people's lives. You cannot avoid all obstacles. And you definitely cannot live in peace if you are constantly fighting with reality. Acceptance is aligning with the flow of life. It's letting go of what needs to go. It's saying, I trust in what I can do, and I release what isn't up to me. Tonight, before you sleep, ask yourself, what am I trying to control in vain? And then ask, where can I act with wisdom within what's within my control? You'll be surprised by the lightness that acceptance brings, because sometimes peace doesn't come from changing the world. Peace comes when you stop fighting against what was never in your hands. Sixth, meditation, discomfort, also teaches. Have you ever wondered why certain moments in life hurt so much? Why there's discomfort, anguish, frustration, fatigue, fear? If all we truly want is peace, why does life insist on pushing us into difficult places? The answer might not come immediately, but it does exist, and the Stoics understood it better than anyone. Seneca wrote, difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor strengthens the body. Discomfort, according to Stoic philosophy, is not a punishment. It's a teacher, perhaps the harshest, the quietest, but also the most effective. What has shaped you most in life? Was it a compliment or a disappointment? Was it an easy achievement or a difficult loss? If you're honest with yourself, you'll realize that the most challenging phases were also the ones that taught you the most. But only those willing to look at discomfort with humility, openness, and courage truly learn from it. That's why today, if you're going through a tough time, perhaps the most useful question you can ask yourself isn't, why is this happening to me? But rather, what is this trying to teach me? Discomfort reveals truths that comfort zones hide. It shows the limits you need to overcome. It shows the patterns you need to break. It shows the relationships you need to rethink. And most importantly, it shows the strength you never knew you had until you were pushed to discover it. Here are some practices to apply this Stoic view in your life. The first is to rewrite your pain as a lesson. Take a recent situation that caused you discomfort. It could be a conflict, a failure, or a frustration. Now ask yourself, if this experience were a lesson, what would the learning be? Write it down. Don't ignore it. Don't run from it. What seems like pain today can become wisdom tomorrow, if you're willing to learn. The second practice is negative visualization, a classic Stoic technique. Take a few minutes and imagine that uncomfortable situations can happen, a mistake, a loss, an unexpected event. But by visualizing it calmly, before it happens, you prepare yourself mentally. And when something truly goes out of your control, you'll be more serene, because you've already understood that discomfort is part of the journey. The third practice is to change your inner dialogue. When difficulty arises, instead of repeating, this is unfair, this is too much for me, I can't take it anymore, try saying, this is tough, but I can grow from this. This is challenging, and I will come out stronger. It might seem simple, but changing the tone of your inner voice transforms the impact of the pain. Stoicism is not a philosophy of denying reality. On the contrary, it's a philosophy of facing it, of emotional maturity, of continuous growth. Accepting discomfort as part of life doesn't mean liking the pain. It means understanding that within every pain lies the seed of transformation. So the next time life tightens its grip, ask yourself, which part of me is being called to grow right now? Maybe it's patience, maybe courage, maybe the ability to wait, maybe the art of letting go. Discomfort forces you to go deeper than the surface. It takes you inside, and it's there, in the silence within, that true learning resides. Remember, discomfort also teaches, and sometimes it's the only thing that can teach you what no one else could. Seventh, meditation. Speaking less can bring more relief. Sometimes relief doesn't come when you vent. It doesn't come when you try to justify every detail, nor when you respond impulsively in the heat of the moment. Sometimes true relief comes when you choose silence. In today's world, where everyone wants to talk, give their opinion, explain themselves, respond quickly, and have the last word, speaking less has become a superpower. And the Stoics knew this more than 2,000 years ago. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Few people regret having spoken less, but many regret having spoken too much." Impulsive speech, the need to say everything you think, to react in the exact moment of anger or hurt, often only prolongs the discomfort that was already there. You've probably been there. You said something in the heat of the moment and regretted it. You vented to the wrong person and felt more exposed than relieved. You responded immediately and made the situation worse. The problem isn't speaking, it's speaking too much, speaking without thinking, speaking, expecting relief that doesn't come from your words, but from internal understanding. Stoic wisdom invites us to practice silence as a form of self-control, as a tool for peace, as emotional discipline. Here are some practical applications to bring this meditation into your life. The first, before you speak, breathe. It seems obvious, but most conflicts arise from impulse. Next time you feel the urge to reply, to respond immediately, to justify yourself, stop, breathe deeply, count to 3. Sometimes, just this pause is enough for your mind to reorganize, and you'll realize you don't need to say anything in that moment. The second, practice what the Stoics called useful words. Before opening your mouth, ask, is what I'm about to say true? Is it necessary? Will it improve anything? If the answer is no to any of these questions, keep it to yourself, because not everything you feel needs to be said the moment it's felt. The third practice, write before you speak. If you're emotionally charged, write down what you want to say. Read it quietly. See if it still makes sense once the emotion passes. You'll be surprised at how many words stop feeling urgent once they've been filtered by time. And here's the fourth, perhaps the deepest of all. Understand that silence isn't passivity, it's strength. Being silent doesn't mean repressing yourself nor pretending everything is fine. It means knowing you don't need to prove anything all the time. That peace is worth more than the last word. That not every venting brings relief, but every well-chosen silence prevents wear and tear. The world is noisy. Social media is full of people shouting, reacting, and constantly voicing their opinions. You don't have to be another part of that noise. You can be the calm presence, the thoughtful word, the conscious pause. Tonight, before you sleep, reflect, how many words did I speak today that were truly necessary? And tomorrow, choose one conversation to listen more and speak less. Observe, absorb, reflect. Silence is also a form of wisdom. Remember, speaking less can bring more relief, because sometimes what you need isn't to be heard by others, but to listen to yourself. 8th meditation, peace begins with small choices. Have you ever felt like peace is always one step ahead, as if it's something that depends on a big change, a new job, a better relationship, the dream house, the ideal life? But what if I told you that peace doesn't come from these big accomplishments? What if it's in the small decisions you make every day, almost without realizing it? Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." What he meant by that is that peace, that true inner peace, begins long before the big events. It starts with the smallest choices, in what you decide to think, in what you choose to ignore, in what you decide to let pass. Yes, it's the small choices that shape your inner world. For example, you can choose to stop reacting impulsively to everything. You can choose to breathe deeply before entering a difficult conversation. You can choose not to feed that negative thought that knocks on your mind at 3 a.m. You can choose to listen to music instead of scrolling through news that only makes you anxious. You can choose to go to bed earlier, say no when you need to, take care of your body, protect your attention. These are small choices, but together they build your peace. Now think, what choices did you make today? Did you choose to be too hard on yourself or to be kind? Did you choose to argue or to remain silent? Did you choose to compare yourself or to be grateful? Did you choose to carry everything alone or to ask for help? Peace is not a place you reach. It's a state you build, decision by decision. To help you with that, here are some simple but powerful Stoic practices to apply to your daily life. The first is conscious attention to small decisions. Before acting, ask yourself, does this bring me closer or further from the peace I want to feel? If the answer is further, maybe it's time to do things differently, even if it feels uncomfortable at first. The second practice is the maintenance of your thoughts. The Stoics knew that the mind needs cleaning, just like the body. So, when a negative thought insists on coming back, tell yourself, does this thought serve me or sabotage me? If it sabotages, discard it firmly. You don't need to welcome everything that comes to your mind. The third practice is the ritual of the smallest choice. Choose a daily habit that you know makes you feel good, no matter how small. It could be making your bed, drinking water when you wake up, going for a 5-minute walk, writing a gratitude note. Do this every day as a commitment to your peace. You'll notice how such a small gesture can change the tone of an entire day. The fourth is letting go of the unnecessary. How many arguments have you fueled unnecessarily? How many times did you insist on being right, even though it cost you your peace? The Stoics remind us, you can be right and still choose peace. Not everything needs to be answered. Not every conflict deserves your energy. And finally, learn to respect your own limit. Sometimes, the most important choice to keep your peace is to say, not now, I need some time. And that's not selfish. It's self-care. It's emotional maturity. Remember, peace doesn't come like magic. It's cultivated, maintained, and strengthened by your choices. Silent choices, discreet choices, but powerful ones. Tonight, before you sleep, ask yourself, what was the smallest choice I made today that brought me the most peace? And tomorrow, choose another one, and then another. Little by little, step by step, you'll build your place of calm, inside, no matter what's happening outside, because peace starts right there, in the small choices you make, when no one is watching. Ninth, meditation. Remember, nothing lasts forever. Maybe you're going through a tough time right now. Maybe you woke up today with a weight on your chest, feeling like everything is out of place, and the feeling is that this phase will never end, that the pain is here to stay. But it's not. Nothing lasts forever. Not the intense joy, nor the deep sorrow, not the days of clear sunshine, nor the storms. And this is a reminder that the Stoics carried like a shield, because when you understand the impermanence of things, you learn not to cling too much to what brings you joy and not to despair over what afflicts you. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Constantly observe that everything is changing and nothing remains." Get used to the idea that the nature of the universe is transition. The pain you feel now will pass, maybe slowly, maybe leaving marks, but it will pass. And you've already lived through this before, even if you don't remember right now. You've had nights that felt endless, but the next day came. You've had losses that seemed unbearable, but you learned to live with them. You've cried thinking it would be forever, but at some point, the crying stopped. The truth is that time takes shapes and transforms, and even though some pains insist, they lose their strength. They stop being wounds and become stories. They will turn into memories, and then they'll just be part of what made you who you are. But how can you apply this idea in practice? The first thing is to honestly recognize your current emotional state, but without merging with it. You can say, today I'm sad, but this sadness isn't forever. Today I'm tired, but this will pass. Naming what you feel, without identifying it as a fixed part of who you are. The second practice is to observe impermanence in the small details of everyday life. Look at the sky throughout the day. See how it changes. Observe the changing seasons, the aging body, the people who come and go. Everything changes, all the time. And this constant awareness reminds you that what hurts now is also in the process of changing. The third Stoic practice is to use the phrase, "this too shall pass," as an emotional anchor. Simple, but powerful. In moments of agony, repeat it like a mantra, "This too shall pass." And if you're living a good moment, say with gratitude, "I'm so glad this is happening. I know it's fleeting, so I'll enjoy it." Impermanence is not a threat. It's an invitation to value what's good while it lasts, and to take a deep breath in the face of what's difficult, knowing that it will change too. Tonight, Before you sleep, ask yourself, what's troubling me today? Will it still matter in 5 years? Most of the time, the answer will be no. And when it's yes, understand that even what leaves marks also settles within the soul. It finds its place. Remember, the pain will pass. The longing will soften. The tough phase will be behind you. Nothing lasts forever. And that is liberating. 10th meditation. Not everything needs an immediate response. We live in a fast-paced world. Everything has to be now. Respond to the message, react to the comment, solve the problem, give an answer, an opinion, a justification. But what if you don't respond right away? What if wisdom lies precisely in waiting, in giving time for the dust to settle, for the emotion to subside, for the thought to reorganize? Stoicism teaches us that acting in haste is one of the shortest paths to regret. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Haste is the enemy of discernment. Delay your response until reason is ahead of emotion." The truth is, you don't need to take a stand on everything the moment you are provoked. You don't need to give an answer in the heat of anger. You don't need to resolve a conflict when you're still emotionally wounded. You don't need to make an important decision amid fatigue and mental chaos. Contrary to what it seems, waiting is not weakness, it's emotional intelligence. It's taking a step back before moving forward with more clarity. Now think, how many times have you regretted speaking too much? Regretted writing something unnecessary? Regretted reacting with anger or anxiety? And what if you had just waited a little bit? Maybe you wouldn't have said anything at all, or you would have said it better, with more lucidity, with more elegance, with more truth. And that's why this meditation is so powerful. Not everything needs an immediate response. Here are a few Stoic practices to apply this idea in your life. The first is the exercise of conscious pause. When something bothers you, challenges you, or provokes you, stop. Breathe deeply 3 times before taking any action. Deep breathing decreases the activity of the sympathetic nervous system, which is linked to immediate emotional reactions. In other words, breathing changes the type of response you're able to give. The second practice is delayed response with intention. You can say, "I prefer to think calmly and respond later," or "Can I get back to you tomorrow?" This simple stance already commands respect and shows maturity. You're saying, "I take this situation seriously, therefore I won't decide hastily." The third practice is reflection. If I wait a day, will this response still be necessary? Because often, time resolves what seemed urgent. Emotions dissolve, the situation settles, and what seemed so important loses its strength. And here's an essential reminder. You have the right not to respond immediately. You have the right to process, to think, to care for yourself before taking care of others. You have the right to choose silence as a temporary or even final response. In Stoicism, this choice is seen as a sign of self-control, and self-control is freedom. Freedom from being a slave to your own reactions. Freedom to decide with clarity, not impulsively. Tonight, before you sleep, ask yourself, in which moments of my day could I have waited longer before responding? And tomorrow, when provoked, remember, you don't need to explain yourself right away. You don't need to justify yourself in the heat of emotion. And you don't need to rush just because the world is shouting. The time you give yourself before reacting is the same time that gives you power over yourself, because not everything needs an immediate response, but everything benefits from a more conscious response. 11th meditation. Choose to respond, not to react. Have you ever regretted what you said just seconds after speaking? Maybe it was in the middle of an argument, or when you received a harsh criticism, or in the face of an injustice that made you explode. At the moment, it seemed impossible to hold back. You reacted, in the impulse, in the anger, in the pain. But then you realized it wasn't the situation that hurt you. It was the way you reacted to it. And this is exactly what the Stoic meditation is about. Choose to respond, not to react. Epictetus reminds us it's not the events that affect us, but the way we interpret them. Reacting is automatic. It's when emotion comes first, and reason doesn't even have time to arrive. It's the slam of the table, the snappy response, the message sent without thinking. Reacting is being controlled by the external. Responding, on the other hand, is intentional. It's when you observe what happened, feel what you need to feel, but consciously choose what to do with that. Responding is choosing your path, even in the midst of chaos. And this doesn't mean being cold or swallowing everything in silence. It means knowing when and how to act, with clarity, balance, and wisdom. Here are some Stoic practices to develop this skill. The first is the pause of awareness. When something affects you, instead of reacting impulsively, breathe deeply. Close your eyes if possible. Count to 5. That small space between stimulus and response is where your power lies. The second practice is to ask the key question. What is the best response I can give to honor who I want to be? This simple question shifts the focus from emotion to intention. It takes you out of the victim role and places you in the position of choice. The third practice is to write, at the end of the day, situations where you reacted and how you would have responded if you had paused to think. This exercise is not to blame yourself. It's to train your mind to recognize patterns. Over time, you start to anticipate these moments and change your attitude in time. And here's a practical reflection. Every time you react impulsively, you're handing your power to someone else. But every time you choose how to respond, you're taking command of your own life. Emotional maturity begins when you realize that not everything deserves an immediate response, that your peace is more valuable than being right. That silence is also a choice, and that firmness can come in a calm tone. Remember, the Stoics weren't indifferent to life. They felt everything, but they didn't let their emotions decide for them. And that's what you can practice today. Today, throughout your day, notice. When provoked, question before reacting. When pressured, choose the tone in which you'll respond. When you feel attacked, remember who you are and what you truly want to preserve. Because in the end, true strength isn't in reacting faster. It's in choosing wisely how and when to respond. 12th and final meditation. The greatest victory is peace of mind. You can achieve everything you've always dreamed of. A great job, money, recognition. You can have the house you wanted, the perfect clothes, the most modern phone. But if you lie down at night and your mind won't quiet, if you can't find peace with your own thoughts, then you haven't won. Because the greatest victory of all, the one that truly matters, is peace of mind. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "He who lives in harmony with himself lives in harmony with the universe." And what he meant is simple but profound. It doesn't matter if you win on the outside and lose on the inside. It doesn't matter if you convince others and live in conflict with your own conscience. It doesn't matter if you conquer the world and are a slave to your own emotions. Peace of mind doesn't come from applause, nor from achievements. It comes from choices. It comes from alignment between what you think, what you feel, and what you do. It comes from acting with truth, knowing when to stop, and not losing yourself in trying to please others. It comes from a calm conscience. But how do you cultivate this peace? Here are some Stoic practices that can help you achieve it. The first is the practice of righteous action. Follow a simple principle. If this won't leave me at peace later, it's not worth it now. Before you act, ask yourself, will I sleep well after this? If the answer is no, maybe it's time to choose another path. The second practice is minimizing mental noise. Avoid pointless debates, unnecessary arguments, ego-driven disputes. Ask yourself, does this really need my energy? Sometimes true intelligence is in stepping back, not out of cowardice, but wisdom. The third practice is dialogue with your conscience. At the end of the day, before sleep, ask yourself, today, was I loyal to myself? Was I fair with others? Did I maintain my integrity even in the small things? This simple exercise of self-reflection will show you where to adjust your course. And here's a deep but liberating practice. Let go of what doesn't belong to you. Not all guilt is yours. Not every fight deserves a response. Not every burden is meant to be carried by you. Part of peace of mind comes when you recognize what you need to resolve and what you need to let go of. Peace isn't the absence of problems. It's knowing how to deal with them without losing yourself in the process. It's not living at the mercy of external circumstances. It's standing firm, even when everything around you is unstable. Today, throughout your day, observe. What choices bring me closer to peace? What attitudes take me away from it? Choose less noise, less reaction, more inner silence, more loyalty to who you want to be. Remember, the greatest victory isn't being admired. It's having peace when you look at yourself in the mirror. It's not about winning over others. It's about winning over yourself, your impulsiveness, your hurry, your need to prove something. The greatest victory is peace of mind, and it's not shouted, it's felt deep in your soul. If you've made it this far, I want to congratulate you, because this says a lot about you. It means that despite all the daily challenges, you're choosing to grow, choosing to learn, choosing to seek wisdom to live with more awareness, more balance, and more peace. Not everyone has this courage, but you did, and that's already a big step. Now I'd like to invite you to leave a comment below. If you'd like, share what touched you most in this video. Which meditation will you carry with you in life? And if you don't know what to say, just write gratitude. That way, I'll know you stayed with me until the end, and that means a lot to me. Oh, and if this content did you good, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Here, you'll find reflections like this every week, all based on Stoic wisdom, to help you live with more strength, clarity, and purpose. And if you want to continue this journey of self-knowledge, I'll leave 2 more videos on the side with powerful Stoic reflections. I'm sure they'll inspire you even more. Remember, the change you seek starts from within, and every step in that direction counts. See you in the next video. Take care and live with virtue.